We've had a fantastic weekend here in Washington, D.C., or we hope you've had a fantastic weekend here. And we hope you've enjoyed all the respective programs and the events HACR has put together so far. These programs are one way that HACR aims to fulfill its mission to advance Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. I would like to take a moment to congratulate the 10th class of the HACR YHCA program. Can you believe it's been 10 years? And that more than 200 Hispanic Corporate Achievers have participated in this program, including one of them is Comcast NBC Universal Telemundo's own Cesar Conde. This program, along with all of HACR, is committed to developing the next generation of Hispanic leaders, and not just Hispanics that will lead other Hispanics, but Hispanics leading in corporate America, local business communities, and society at large. So thank you to everyone here for your leadership and for everything you do to help HACR achieve its mission of increasing Hispanic representation in corporate America. I am also very happy to be here after I heard that this evening is as well an homage to Maria Celeste's 30 years at Telemundo. Imagine 30 years. I think any journalist would hope to one day be able to say that. And as a journalist myself, Maria Celeste is someone I admire, not only as a professional, but as an individual and as a humanitarian. And I worked at the Miami network, and I would see her sometimes, but we didn't have an actual conversation until I moved to Washington, and we were on the same horrible, terrible flight from Miami to Washington, D.C., that I think was delayed for over 5 hours or something. And I saw her at the airport, and we started talking, and she spoke to me as if she had known me for years, a quality that I think not that many people have, and makes you comfortable to speak with them, and of course a quality that makes you a great journalist. And today I'm here again by coincidence, in the presence of such an inspiring journalist, so I'm very grateful and honored to be here, and congratulations to Maria Celeste Herreras. And at this time, I would like to invite HACR President and CEO Sid Wilson to say a few words.
Thank you. Buenas noches. Buenas noches, mi gente. This is such a special evening. 30 years ago to this day, a coalition of Latino organizations came together recognizing the importance of founding an organization whose mission is advancing Hispanic inclusion. And that was the creation of what we know today as the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility. And now here we are 30 years later to this day, and we're in this beautiful facility, the United States Institute of Peace. Such a historic evening, and this was made possible thanks to the vision of our board of directors. And I'd like for our board to please stand and be recognized. The board of directors of the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility, led by our board chairman, Ignacio Salazar, and all the organizations that had the vision of saying que sí se puede to move our nation forward when it comes to Hispanic inclusion. We've come such a long way over these 30 years, but we recognize that there's still much work to be done. And that is why with the programs that we've had this weekend is building that pipeline. 10 years of the HACR Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers. 10 years. Give yourselves a round of applause, YHCAers. And these programs are so vital. Our Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers program, our Corporate Achievers Summit attendees, our Corporate Executives Forum. You are the ones who are at the top of your game in terms of being up there within the C-suite. And of course, our Latinos that serve on boards as part of our Corporate Directors Summits. So this was such a great, empowering weekend. But this evening was made possible thanks to some great partners and sponsors that made this happen. And of course, we want to thank Ford Motor Company and Comcast, NBC, Universal, Telemundo for making this night happen. So give them a big applause. And we have just a great lineup this evening, and so we're gonna recognize Maria Celeste from Noticiero Telemundo Al Rojo Vivo for 30 years of broadcasting. Absolutely. Followed by our keynote speaker, someone who I've admired for so many years, the former chairman and CEO of Kellogg and the former U.S. Secretary of Commerce, the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez. Thank you so much for your leadership. And so we will come back after we serve dinner, and looking forward to a beautiful evening. So with that, muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much.
Joining us now to say a few words on behalf of the HACR Board of Directors is the Chair, Ignacio Salazar, President and CEO of CER Jobs for Progress National, Inc. Please welcome Ignacio Salazar to the stage.
Thank you, Claudia. Before I came up, I was given a note, and the note said, we're going to be running behind, so you need, as chairman, to move things along. And I think some of the board members that are here know that that's an important task, so that that's my job right now. How we doing? How we doing? This is a beautiful, beautiful venue, isn't it? And those of you that have been involved in the panels and the discussions, have they been helpful? Hey, this isn't work. You can make noise. So have fun. I'd like to thank all of you this evening for being part of our 2016 programs and the kickoff of our annual symposium celebration. It's an honor for me to be the chair, to work with Sid and the HACR team as we move the mission forward. As was mentioned, this is the 30-year celebration, a very special time for us. I was just talking with Juana Bordas, and she said, I have some participants in the YHCA, the Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers program, who aren't 30 years old, who are here. And so we were doing this before they were born. That's special. That's special. The evening is going to be, I think, an exceptional one. We have, a great keynote speaker this evening. The important thing that I want to just mention to all of you very briefly is that our job has really just begun. Our job has just begun. We're here in a great celebratory mood, but in our community, there's many battles that go on day in and day out. And the board of HACR, those 16 organizations, take on that struggle every day. Let's not forget that in this country today, and when a war on poverty was declared 50 years ago, that the poverty rate in America was 25%, it has dropped to 15% nationally. But today in our community, in the Hispanic Latino community, the poverty rate is over 25%. And that within our youth, the poverty rate approaches 40%. That is not a prescription for success. That is why we do what we do. And I'm very proud of those 16 organizations that together formed CER. 7 of those organizations 30 years ago came together with corporations and said, we need to create this. Today we have many corporations and 16 organizations, and so we see the effort of all that work. Enjoy the evening. Thank you. It's been an honor to be with you this evening.
Thank you, Ignacio, for those thoughtful words on what it has meant for you to be the HACR board chair for the past 2 years, and thank you for your leadership and service. Tonight's event would not have been possible without the generous support of our sponsors. Please welcome our first sponsor, Kurt Magleby, Vice President of U.S. Government Relations at Ford Motor Company.
Buenas noches. Es un placer para mí estar aquí para compartir algunas palabras con ustedes. I'm Kurt Magleby, the Vice President of Government Affairs for Ford Motor Company here in Washington. And on behalf of Ford, I'd like to thank the HACR President and CEO Sid Wilson, Chairman Ignacio Salazar, and the Board of Directors for all their great work and leadership. I also wanted to take this opportunity to recognize the Ford board member, Kim, who's here. Kim Casiano is here with us today. You know, Kim's the first Hispanic woman to be serving on one of the top 5 Fortune 100, corporate boards. It's a great opportunity to have her with us at Ford. She's been involved in all of our company's successes for more than 13 years. That's a long time, the ups and downs at Ford. So thank you, Kim, for your commitment to making a difference for us. You know, it was over 100 years ago that Ford was founded. It was founded on a simple vision. And it was, putting everybody on wheels, but at the same time making a better world. That's what it's really all about. It's a greater purpose. And Henry Ford wanted everybody to enjoy the freedoms of mobility that we have today. And for us, mobility isn't just building cars. It's about technology services that are going to create the most efficient future world for us all. And that's what involves everybody, and the importance of education in that end. Ford Motor Company Fund, that's the philanthropic arm of Ford, also has a rich history of partnership with HACR. During the weekend, you've come together to discuss the advancement of Hispanics in corporate America. Those are things we strongly believe in at Ford Motor Company. We're a founding sponsor of HACR's Corporate Director and Executive Forums, the Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers, the Corporate Achievers Summit, and we've been privileged to support Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. So in the past few years, we've had a lot of talented people. We have a couple here tonight, too, that are part of the program. Carlos Gonzalez and Andres Gutierrez están aquí. So congratulations to them. So it's all about investing in a world with young people and communities where we do business, making our communities better, helping everybody have access to education opportunities. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse. We're going to look at a video here, how we've helped people succeed, and we call it Ford Driving Dreams program, designed by the Ford Motor Company Fund to help Latino youth graduate on time and pursue higher education. So to date, we've reached nearly 50,000 students and helped with about $3.5 million. We provide support over $10 million a year in scholarships and partnership programs. So let's look at the screen. Let's watch just a little brief video. Come back to it right now.
Our school is situated in a place where there are no libraries or places where you can get books within walking distance.
Today the Ford company came and they gave us a cool new book.
Education is really the foundational element for our communities.
If I study a lot and do good in school, I can go to law school and become a lawyer.
We're looking for the Driving Dreams program to progress and expand as others see the successes that it's having, just like here in North Dallas.
We've always loved Texas, and Texas loves Ford.
Never allow your heart to turn so hard that you stop caring about other people and you stop caring about yourself. Please never go there in life.
right now you have all these dreams, but the dreams that you have today aren't all the dreams that you're going to be able to accomplish in your life.
I see myself waking up and wanting to go to work.
And I essentially just want to help people.
It's a possibility for me and that I'm going to be able to do it.
This is part of who we are. This is part of what we are as a company.
And Henry Ford understood that in order to have a sustainable business, you had to have a sustainable society.
In the future, I just want to do something to make a difference.
This is an investment in your future. These are the key people that are going to be running our country one day, and we need to make sure that they're educated.
El ver que él ha logrado algo y que no quiere quedar ahí.
They're doing a lot for me, and sometimes I think that people don't understand the value of education.
And just like motivation overall, some people just don't feel it anymore.
Never allow fear to keep you from doing what you believe in.
You gotta keep going. Our motto is, when you get knocked down, you gotta get up and keep going. You gotta keep it moving.
What they've done for me right now is, it's like the ticket, it's a golden ticket to do whatever you want.
I'm just so very proud of her that it brings tears to my eyes to even talk about it. Every time. She's a wonderful child. I'm gonna miss her a lot.
I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciate they pick my daughter for the opportunity.
Yeah!
And really, that's the point, that only by working together can we help make their dreams a reality. And also, before I go, I just wanted to mention, everybody sees a little Mustang right there in the centerpiece of your tables. So we had to hide a little sticker about who wins the Mustang, who takes the Mustang home. It's actually under your seat. So you have to sort of like check under the seat. Don't bother your neighbor. So, there we go. Anyway, okay. All right. Gracias a todos y buena suerte. Yeah.
Has anyone won the Mustang? No? Who? Here? Each table. Okay. Well, we're going to continue with the evening. I know it's very exciting winning a car. Thank you, Kurt, and thank you again to the Ford Motor Company for your sponsorship of tonight's event and your support of HACR since the beginning. Imagine Kurt has been supporting HACR since 1986. I would also like to recognize our second sponsor for this evening, Comcast Corporation. Here on behalf of the Comcast family of companies is Raquel Rocky Egusquiza, Vice President of Community Affairs, Hispanic Enterprises and Content with NBC Universal.
Thank you, Claudia. It's so great to be here on behalf of Comcast, NBC Universal, and Telemundo as we culminate this weekend of leadership at HACR, as it celebrates 30 years of focusing on Hispanic representation in corporate America in employment, procurement, philanthropy, and governance. Congratulations to Ignacio and the entire board of directors of HACR, and to Sid and the entire staff for holding us accountable. We're looking forward to listening from the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez tonight. Thank you for joining us and for being part of our family as well. For me, it's a special privilege. I was a graduate of the inaugural class of the Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers. And I had the opportunity to work at Ford Motor Company when we gave the seed money to start Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers and the Corporate Executive Forum. And I'm very proud. Thank you, Ford, for all that you do for this community as well. There are a number of my colleagues here tonight from Comcast, NBC, and Telemundo, and I'd like to ask them to please stand and be recognized. We're represented from across our company, and I encourage you to get to know the members of the Comcast, NBC, Telemundo family that are here, because among them are Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers, CAS participants, CEF participants, and this year, unfortunately, he wasn't able to join, but Caesar is a new member of the directors program, so we're really proud to be represented across all your leadership programs. As a company, giving back is in our DNA, and every day we roll up our sleeves, reach out to our neighbors, and work hard to make a difference in the communities we serve. All of you know how proud we are of Comcast Internet Essentials, that's transforming communities, as having access to high-speed internet at home opens up a world of possibilities and opportunities to all. Together with 9,000 nonprofit and educator partners, many who are here tonight, we've provided more than $240 million of support for digital literacy training, benefiting over 3.2 million people, and we're not done yet. And just yesterday, more than 100,000 Comcast, NBC, and Telemundo employees, family members, and friends nationwide participated in the 15th annual Comcast Cares Day, working to improve our local communities. Tonight, we're particularly excited that as HACR celebrates its 30 years, one of our own, Maria Celeste, is also being celebrated for her 30 years of service to our community as a journalist. There is a tectonic change in Spanish language media, with more and more viewers making Telemundo their preferred choice. We continue to invest in infrastructure and talent in front of and behind the camera. As a matter of fact, Telemundo is today the largest employer of Spanish language talent in the United States. And thanks to Comcast, NBC Universal's long-term investments, including the announcement of the groundbreaking of Telemundo's new 500,000 square foot state-of-the-art global headquarters in Miami, Telemundo continues to deliver unprecedented growth in ratings and audience share, fueled by high-quality content produced by U.S. Hispanics for U.S. Hispanics. At Telemundo, we understand the tremendous responsibility we have towards our viewers and our community. Our programs expand education, health, financial literacy, and civic engagement. As we all know, the Latino vote will be critical in the upcoming presidential elections. Our electoral coverage and civic engagement company-wide initiative, #Yo Decido, is the largest multi-platform effort in the history of the network, designed to inform and empower Latinos nationwide. And I want to recognize one of your own Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers, Desiree Colomina from Noticiero Telemundo, who's worked hand in hand with community affairs in this initiative. Thank you. And of course, Maria Celeste is one of our key spokespersons. Thank you. On behalf of Comcast, NBC Universal, and Telemundo, David Cohn, Cesar Conde, Sal Mendoza, Jackie Puente, and I want to thank HACR, congratulate the Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers, the Corporate Executive Forum members, the CAS members, and the Latino corporate directors for their leadership. And of course, congratulations to Maria Celeste for her service. We're so proud of you. We look forward to continuing to work with HACR in the years to come, and we hope you enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Rocky, and thank you again to Ford Motor Company and Comcast, NBC Universal Telemundo for your generous support, without which evenings like this would not be possible. At this point in the program, we would like everyone to please enjoy their meal and buen provecho.
We're so glad to be here, so thank you to the U.S. Institute of Peace for hosting its first Latino gathering here. And so, at the time that the HACR board, the 7 organizations at the time, came together to form the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility, there was another rising star, hailing from Mayagüez, Puerto Rico, and America discovered Maria Celeste. And so, since her first day broadcasting, and now 30 years later, we are so proud of Maria Celeste for 30 years of broadcasting. She's the first Latina ever to win a National Emmy Award. That is significant. She's an author, she's an inspiration, and of course, we watch her every day on Noticiero Telemundo, and of course, her show Al Rojo Vivo. I want everyone to give a big HACR applause to Maria Celeste, recognizing her for 30 years of broadcasting.
Gracias, Sid. Gracias. I have to make a confession. There's a little bit of discrepancies here. I was told at the beginning that I had to make a speech between 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes, and then a lot of people have told me, tell us your life story, how you got to where you got. There's a time slot difference there, big time. And then I asked, should I speak in English or Spanish? Half of the room said English, half of the room said Spanish. So I am really confused. But my brother who's here tonight, and I'm very happy he's with me tonight, he lives here in Washington, he said, don't worry about it. Even if it's a bad speech, they're not going to take the award away. Thank you. Thank you, Kiko. So I'm going to do between the 1.5 minutes and the 10 hours. No, just kidding. I'm going to do something short, and I'm going to do bilingual, because I think I want everybody to be happy. So I'm very happy to be here. My 30 years. 30 years have flown by. I cannot believe it. You don't know how many people I've run into today that tell me, my mother loves you. Okay? So I take that as a big compliment. But, you know, HACR and I, both you and I have something very much in common. We both started with a lot of principles and a great vision of what we wanted our lives to be like. 30 years ago. I started 30 years ago. You started 30 years ago, 1986. And time has flown by. And the interesting thing about it is that we had to fight a lot to leave a mark. The stars are always very difficult and very complicated, and you have to fight a lot. I think that I owe my success in life to the lessons that I learned from my father, who is a very well-known retired politician in Puerto Rico. Many of you asked me about him tonight. And he always told me, Mari, you always have to lead your life by your principles, which kind of goes along with the social responsibility and the corporate responsibility. You have to keep your principles as your north, as your brújula. And if you follow that brújula, you'll go far and you'll do the right thing always. I remember I used to be a swimmer, and I became a champion swimmer. I became an Olympian swimmer because he was on top of me at all times. He was relentless. He always wanted perfection and excellence, which I'm glad he did because he taught me a lot. And when he would take me at 5 o'clock in the morning to the pool every morning to go work out, the pool used to be freezing, and I hate cold water. And every time I would go to swim, I would always put the tip of my toe to test the water. And he always kept telling me, Mari, when you have something that you want to do, jump in the pool. Don't even think about it. Just start swimming, and you'll warm up, and you'll keep going, and you'll make things happen. Sure enough, because every time I would touch the water, I would freeze, and I would say, now I really don't want to go. And this is a very important metaphor, because that metaphor carried me through life. The first time that I ever had to be in television in front of a camera, of course I was freaking out, extremely nervous. My heart was like a locomotive. I was really nervous, and he always told me, use the energy of your adrenaline to make it better instead of paralyzed and be feared. And be afraid of things. So anyway, I have carried that throughout my life in everything I've done since. And the other lesson that I've learned from him was, one time I came to my house with a C. And I come from a family of scholars that have discovered theorems. They all have doctor's degrees. I'm the only one who went to regular school, and I got a, like basic honors, didn't get summa cum laude or magna cum laude. But he always said, the first time I came to my house with a C, he was waiting for me outside like there was a funeral. And I look at him and I says, oh, this is not good. And he looked at me and he says, let me tell you this, and I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. A esta casa, tú vienes con una A o con una F. Nunca con una C, porque nunca uno puede ser mediocre. Tú tienes que ser lo mejor de lo mejor o lo mejor de lo peor, pero mediocre nunca. Okay? Well, guess what? I ended up getting all A's and F in conduct because I was very traviesa. But I think that being traviesa was part of the reason why I was, why my vocation was being a journalist, because I used to love to hear conversations of adults. I always used to be like a radar listening, and they used to get very upset. But in order to be a journalist, you have to have a curious mind, an inquisitive mind, and you have to have an incredible passion for justice and balance. And I think that I've had that all my life. So when I was looking at Claudia up here, talking about me and seeing the sparkle in her eyes, the next generation of journalists, I had tenía un taco en la garganta, porque that is what I want to leave. I mean, by the way, I plan to be here 3 years more, don't get me wrong. But I want to leave a legacy of like my father gave to me, of excellence, of perseverance. Nothing has come easy to me. I've had to work really hard. And when you get to where I have been for quite a while now, thank God, it's harder to stay up. It's harder because there's a lot of circumstances that make it more difficult to stay at the top. So what has kept me there has been always to follow my guides, to follow my principles, like I hope HACR continues to do. We have grown together. It has been a bumpy road, but we made a lot of progress. We have left a mark, and my opinion is that the best is yet to come. Lo mejor está por venir. Thank you. One last thing I want to say, since I got these flowers and I feel like I'm Miss Universe, I always tell young people that are coming up, I said, always doubt the internet. The internet lies. And Wikipedia says that I was Miss Puerto Rico. I wasn't. Thank you.
Yes, another big applause to Maria Celeste. 30 years of broadcasting, an inspiration for all of us. And so, what an inspiration. And so, our next speaker is our keynote speaker for the evening. He is an example que sí se puede in corporate America. You see, he came here from Cuba, from Havana, like many seeking a new life. And at the age of just 22 years, he started at Kellogg, delivering from a truck in Mexico. But he didn't let that stop him. He rose up the ranks from a delivery truck person at Kellogg all the way up to corporate ladder, and in 1999, he became the CEO of the very company, Kellogg Corporation. And at that time, since Roberto Goizueta had already retired, he at the time was the only CEO when he became CEO in 1999. Just continued to make history as he rose up the ranks. And then President George W. Bush appointed him to become the 35th United States Secretary of Commerce. He is someone that is an inspiration to all of us. And so for all you YHCAers out there, you too will one day become the next Carlos Gutierrez. And I want everyone to give a big, warm HACR welcome to our keynote speaker this evening, the one, the only, the honorable former U.S. Secretary of Commerce and our keynote speaker for the evening, Carlos Gutierrez.
Thank you. Buenas noches a todos, and boy, you're lucky to have a CEO like Sid. He first class, and it's an honor to be with you and to be with HACR. I've spoken here before, so I don't want to repeat myself, and I don't remember what I said last time I spoke, so I want to talk about something that we typically don't talk about, and maybe open it up a little bit and provoke a little bit of thought and challenge a bit. I think it's incredible that HACR has 30 years of age. I still don't believe that Maria Celeste has been around for 30 years. But it's incredible to look back in 1986, because that was, being Hispanic was truly being a minority. And it was a small group. And it was not easy to get people to come together with a view, with a vision, and you've made it. You're here 30 years later. You're a successful organization. You have a great brand, and you should feel very, very proud of what you've done. Being part of HACR, you obviously embrace your roots, which I think is absolutely critical and absolutely necessary, important, that we know who we are, that we're proud of who we are, we know where we came from, and we never forget that. And it's not only a source of pride, but it's a huge advantage. So if 30 years ago, saying, look, I'm Hispanic American, was maybe put you in a little bit of a disadvantage, I think today it puts us at an incredible advantage. And I'll give you some thoughts and things to think about as to why that is. So I work today at a consulting firm. I'm a co-chairman of a firm called Albright Stonebridge. And we do business overseas. We help multinational corporations solve problems. I focus primarily on Latin America and China. But we have about 100 clients, and all of our work is outside of the US. And the incredible thing, and I'm not talking about companies like Ford or NBC or Procter & Gamble or other companies who have been around for a long time and they know what it's like. But I can't tell you how many boards of directors and how many corporate executives read an article in The Economist about Colombia, and they think they know Colombia, and they think they know enough to make corporate decisions. So they're very, very sophisticated in their own business. And I've seen this with hedge funds, incredibly sophisticated financially. But there are a lot of firms that are culturally very unsophisticated. And now that I'm in the business of helping them solve their problems, I look at them and I just say, how did you get yourself into this? It's not because they don't know their business, it's because they think that doing business around the world is like doing business in the US. They've confused globalization with Americanization. And boy, it's cost deeply. So the memory that they have when you say Colombia, they think, oh my gosh, drug cartels, the FARC, Medellin, the murder capital of the world. If you've ever been to Medellin, you'll find it's one of the most beautiful cities. And you find families and kids playing on the street. But that's not what you get. That's not the perception. I talk to people about Mexico. Companies, new companies, that are big, that are worth billions of dollars on the stock exchange. They're not in Mexico. Why? Well, you know, a lot of crime and people are killing each other on the street. And, you know, Mexico is just like the Wild Wild West. I go to Mexico 3-4 times a year to relax. But there's an incredible role to play to help people understand. You have two things that most U.S. executives do not have. You're bilingual and you're bicultural. And the second part may be just as important or more as the first part. Back when I was coming up the corporate ladder, you know, we lived in a small town in Michigan, and I regret this to this day, but, you know, 25 years ago, I remember our kids would, you know, feel a little bit of shame of speaking Spanish because their friends would make fun of them, because their friends would think they were odd. So at that time, it just was not as fashionable. People wanted to blend in. They wanted to be just like anyone else. They didn't want people to think of them as different. But again, that was 25, 30 years ago. The world has changed. And yes, we want to blend in. But we don't have to change who we are in order to blend in. Because today, the fact that we are different, the fact that we bring something new to the party is what makes us valuable. I always tell people, and maybe I've told this group, that, you know, I'm a proud U.S. citizen. But if you ask me, what do you want? Arroz con frijoles or a hamburger? I always pick arroz con frijoles. That's, you know, that's my heritage, that's my roots, that's who I am. And I'm extremely proud of that. Today we have the benefit of numbers. The benefit of numbers. And it's interesting to realize that immigration from Latin America started in the 50s and the 60s. So it's relatively new. Chinese Americans came before us. Italian Americans came before us, European Americans, German Americans. We are truly the last wave, the most recent wave of immigrants. And the numbers are just beginning to add up. And it's become a point, it's come to the point where I think it's common knowledge that no one gets elected to be president of the U.S. without the support of the Hispanic community. We don't have to feel alone anymore. We have the power of numbers. I also think we should get more involved in what's going on in either our native land or the land of our ancestors, the land of our parents. Again, we can help. There was a politician, and I'll tell you who it was. It was Richard Nixon, who in the 1960s, or he was actually vice president back then, he said, you know, nobody gives a darn, nobody cares about Latin America. That was 1950s. Our job is to make sure that people give a darn about Latin America. And what you're doing and everything you do raises it to the point that it cannot be ignored. And we're still not there. We're still not there. Whether it's in the business world where, you know, companies got so excited with China, and it's my, you know, I would talk to companies, say, what is your international strategy? Well, we're going to China. Are you in Mexico yet? No, not in Mexico. Mexico's too risky. Too risky versus China. That goes to show, you know, the lack of sophistication that still exists in the corporate world, and that we can ensure that people understand that we have an amazing advantage. No one else can do that. We can help companies avoid mistakes. We can make companies make good strategic decisions. And very importantly, we can help companies, governments know how to deal with Latinos in Latin America. The mistakes that we make just because we don't know how to show respect, because we don't have the humility to learn from someone. I remember when I was promoted from Mexico to Canada, the worst experience I had, this was 1989, so again, 89, early days. The worst experience I had was that no one ever asked me, hey, how do you do that in Mexico? Or how was it in Mexico? Or how did you operate the business in Mexico? There's nothing, I think, more humiliating than the lack of curiosity. And there's nothing more complimentary. There's nothing that celebrates a person more than to be curious about their backgrounds. Please take interest in your country of birth, or your ancestors' countries, or your parents' countries. We don't do that as much as other nationalities. We don't do that as much as other immigrants who have come to this country and have never stayed away from what's going on in their place, in their native land, or the land of their ancestors. I want to tell you a personal story, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell you. I was born in Cuba, and I left in 1960. July of 1960. And I had never returned. I grew up in a household where the one thing you learned at dinner was you don't go back to Cuba, you don't associate with Cuba, you are against Cuba, and I felt like I could do anything I wanted to do. I was 15, 16 years old. I could tell my father, you know, I'm gonna go out tonight and maybe I'll be back at 2 o'clock in the morning. But if I ever said, you know, I'd like to go to Cuba, that's it. So, but as a refugee, when something like that happens to you, Sid and I were just talking about his experience in the Dominican Republic after Trujillo. In my case, the Cuban Revolution was something that is probably the most important event in my life. So there isn't a day that has gone by since 1960, and I promise you this, that I don't think of Cuba at least, I'm going to say one time, but one time is not enough. I think of Cuba all the time, and I can't get enough of reading about Cuba, and I'll read anything about Cuba. And that's the way it's been since 1960. So and I worked for President Bush. President Bush's policy was very hard line. So it was my job to advocate for those policies. It was my job to be a hardliner. And frankly, that was my upbringing. There was something in my gut that was questioning, where's this taking us? Because after all, it's been 58 years. 58 years. I think you have to go back, I think it's Louis XIV, who was in power for 65 years because he started out, I think, at 11 years old. The Communist Party of Cuba, Fidel and Raúl, have been in power for 58 years. But our policy is exactly the same. One of the things you learn in business is that if you have a strategy, you should be able to see how that strategy gets executed. You should be able to visualize it. If we hit the end game, then this is what it will look like. This is how we'll execute it. It was coming to the point where I just didn't get it. Where's this embargo taking us? After the Soviet Union collapsed, the Cuban economy declined by 35%. There were people who were literally going hungry. Malnutrition was growing in the island. It was terrible. And that's when we tightened the embargo. It didn't work. The whole system is still in power. So when President Obama announced his new policy, my first reaction was, it's the same old thing. It's not going to work. It's the, you know, we just, every time we try to make friends, every time we try to make up, every time we try to get closer, something happens. So I was skeptical. I was really skeptical. Does Cuba really want better relations with the U.S.? My first reaction, I think I was on CNN that day, and I said, forget about it. 6 months, bring me back, and you'll see what's going to happen. But I realized that at that time, Cuba was also making changes. They were opening up a private sector. They were letting people open up their businesses. You have to realize that for all those years, commerce, private commerce, was illegal. So you couldn't, you know, if you sold something to your neighbor, that could mean jail time, because it was an economic crime. So the idea that Cuba was changing, President Obama wanted to change, was intriguing to me. So I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, and I've made some new friends and I've made some new enemies. But when Secretary Kerry went down to open up the embassy, August 14th, 2015, I had the good fortune of receiving an invitation. I was with my family on vacation. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving. You know, there's an opportunity to go to Cuba, and I've got to go. So I went down, and can you imagine this? Thinking about Cuba all my life, and then all of a sudden I go. I didn't know what I was going to feel. I didn't know if I would feel sad. I didn't know if I would be mad, angry. I didn't know if I would be paranoid and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning expecting a knock on the door. I just did not know. We arrived at night, so it was hard to see the city at night. And I remember waking up the first morning, opening up the curtains in the Hotel Nacional, and I looked out, and what I felt was joy. I felt happiness. And I didn't, again, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know what it would be. And the reason for that is that I realized I'm back in the place of my birth. I'm back with people who are like me. I'm back in a place where I feel comfortable. I'm not supposed to feel comfortable here, but I do. And it's still the most beautiful place in the world. I've been back 8 times. What I found was a surprise. People buying and selling homes, people having private taxis, people having private restaurants, artists selling their wares on the street, dollars flowing. It was a totally different Cuba than it had been 5 or 7 years ago. I can't tell you that I agree with everything, but I agree with the fact that they're giving Cubans the opportunity to earn a living. And as Secretary Kerry said, there are many things that we disagree on, and we'll talk about those things. But Cuban politics will be decided in Cuba, not in Miami, not in Washington, not in New York. If there's one thing we've learned in 58 years, is that Cuban politics will be decided by Cubans who live in Cuba. What we can do is try to help them. And I know there are many people who say, boy, you're involved with business and you're trying to get business to invest in Cuba, and it's all about business. It's not about human rights. I would just ask you to think about that. For us in the U.S., one of the most precious of human rights is the right to make a living. And that's the right that many Cubans are beginning to receive. And my sense is, and not everyone agrees with me, is that we should help them. We should do everything we can to help those folks get a better life, to help them dream about buying a car, to help them dream about buying a better house, to make them dream about living better. I think that is bigger than the fact that we are still hurt by what happened in 1959. At some point, we have to let the past be the past. And at some point, we've got to start looking to the future and ask ourselves, what can we do and what can I do to help the people in the country of my birth? I could... So I thank you for allowing me to share that with you. I'll just close out with a story in the corporate world. And again, I'm not sure this would happen today, but this was 1988. I had been the general manager of Kellogg Mexico for 5 years. And I thought it was time to move on. You know, I wanted to get a promotion. So I talked to my boss, who was the president of International. He had all the world except for the US. And I said, I would like to move on. I've done a good job in Mexico, and I would like to run a bigger business. Even though Mexico is growing and it was important, but I'd like to do a bigger business. And he said, well, what kind of a business? I said, I would like to go to one of the Anglo markets. At Kellogg, Anglo markets were the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. That's where people ate cereal, and those were the big markets with a lot of competition. And that's where the people who made it ahead, that's where they went. So I asked him, I said, look, I want to go, and I want to go to an Anglo market. He said, are you sure? You want to go to an Anglo market? Yeah, I'd like to give it a shot. I'd like to go, and I think I've earned it, and I've done a good job. And he said, why wouldn't you want to be the president of Latin America? And, you go from general manager of Kellogg Mexico to the president of Latin America. And he kept asking me, and I said, well, no, I want an Anglo market in Latin America, Anglo market. We were sitting in my car. And finally, I realized what he was asking me. And I realized what was behind his question. And what he was asking me is, Carlos, do you think that a Latin can lead Anglos? Aren't you more comfortable leading Latins? That was at the core of his question. We used to ask, do you think an African American can lead the country? Hey, it's been 8 years, and the answer is yes. So I was able to get the opportunity and worked in Canada and then moved on from there. So I think we have to think about our role not so much as are we participating only? Do we have enough numbers on corporate boards? Are we well represented when we look at diversity numbers? Of course that's important. But I think we should set our sights on leadership. We should set our sights on leading, not on just being part of it, but leading. And what I would say is, don't let anyone box you into a corner. Don't let anyone define who you are. Don't let anyone think for you. And I am so proud that there are people in this room who decided early on that they weren't going to be allowed, that they weren't going to allow anyone to put them in this little box, and to put them in that box and say, you stay right there, you be a good boy and girl, and we're going to take care of you, but just keep calm. No, it's time to shoot for the top. It's time that we shoot for leadership positions. And I can't tell you, as I look around this room, I'm actually pretty impressed at how many leaders are here and how the corporate world has changed from my time. So I'm extremely proud of my association with HACR. I'm extremely proud to be one of those many Latinos who have made a mark in this country and have shown people that we are as good or better than the best you can put in front of us. And not only that, but we have advantages that others don't. So keep doing what you're doing. You're making us all extremely proud. And remember, don't let people define you. Define yourself. Thank you very much.
A big applause to former Secretary of Commerce, the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. Wow, that just gave me goosebumps. I mean, how many of you were just absolutely mesmerized, incredible? A person who is an example of corporate excellence and someone who has never forgotten that we come from Latinos. We are Latinos, and together we use our successes and come back into the community. So thank you again, and thank you for those inspiring words, particularly for all the YHCAers. As you hear what Secretary Gutierrez said, don't let anyone define you. Don't let anyone pigeonhole you. Don't let anybody tell you who you are. You know where you are. And so, and of course with that, I also want to be sure, because we recognize the board of directors, I do want to recognize someone who has been involved with the YHCA program for the last 10 years since the beginning, La Doctora Juana Bordas. Juana, please stand up and be recognized. Absolutely. From the very beginning, and so many that have gone through the YHCA program over the years and who are now leading companies, some that are even on Fortune 500 board of directors. So proud. So the next fun thing I get to present is the winner of our HACR app contest. And so I hope that those of you that have been using the app are good, and get ready, because we have 2 winners, and yep, I got it. Yeah, so and they texted to me. I didn't even know who the winners are until right now. So in second place, a $200 gift card from Macy's goes to Alberto Ortega from Sodexo. All right, so Alberto's not here. I saw him earlier, but we will make sure we save this for Alberto. Oh, he's taking pictures. I thought I saw him. He's around here somewhere. Well, that's okay. We'll make sure we give it to him. And the winner with a $400 gift card from Macy's goes to Jennifer Altagraba from ESPN. Come on to the stage. All right. Felicidades. There you go, you see? All right, congratulations, felicidades. Thank you, thank you. All right, so, and of course, thank you to Macy's for the 2 gift cards. Thank you so much. So as we bring the evening to a close, we're looking ahead in the months and the years to come. And next year we will be, for the first time in HACR's history, in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. It's going to be a great weekend of programs and our symposium. And we thought that to really get the excitement going for Detroit, we have a promotional video that we want to show. So with that, let's play the video for our upcoming conference in Detroit.
Well, when you think of Detroit, you think about music, you think about automobiles, but there's so much more to Detroit that people don't realize.
HACR is so excited that we are coming to the Motor City for the first time in our 30-year history of the organization. We are going to put together a great symposium that not only illuminates the Detroit experience, but also gives us an opportunity to talk about the connection between Detroit and our nation.
When people come to Detroit, and they see the richness, the diversity, the culture, the arts, everything that is Detroit today, they are amazed.
Latinos have been in Detroit for many, many years. There's a vibrant, active Latino business community that is in the Motor City. We will not only be having speakers that are in the automotive industry, but also the financial services industry, Silicon Valley industries, other industrial industries, making sure that we're moving our mission forward.
It's indeed a pleasure to welcome you to the Motor City. Please enjoy the diversity, enjoy the richness of the city, get out, go to Mexican Town, see the arts. It's the comeback city by far. You're going to enjoy your stay in Detroit, trust me, and you're going to leave saying, wow.
All right, save the date, April 2017, for the first time in 30 years in Detroit, Michigan. So make sure you save that and please come and join us in the Motor City. So before I wrap up my remarks and then continue with our networking, there is no way that we could put a program like this together without an absolutely dedicated staff here at HACR. And I'd like for my staff to please come up front, please. All the staff, come up to the stage, come on up. Our staff who has worked so tirelessly. They have worked hour day in, day out. They work for you. We're on a mission to Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. And together, our staff hace presente que sí se puede. So let's get everybody down here. There we go. Come on out here, Emma. And Emma Etheridge, our Director of Programs. Our team, and I know there's some that are here, but this is our team. This is HACR. And with the Board of Directors and your support, we're going to continue on this mission of advancing Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. I'm so confident that with our team, our board, all of you, and especially our YHCAs, porque ustedes son nuestro futuro. And I know that the best is yet to come. We moved the needle, but we have a lot more to go. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been an incredible year, and we have so much more to go. Thank you, of course, to our MC, Claudia Curiel. Thank you to Ford and Comcast, NBC, Universal Telemundo. Thank you to our keynote, the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez. And we look forward to seeing all of you in Detroit in 2017. So with that, que Dios le bendiga. Muchísimas gracias. Have a great night.